Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminally, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, food, I'm doing the book snack tag. So this tag was created by Rosika at the Midnight Reader, and I was tagged by MJ from the channel Reading This Life. It's quite a fun tag, so there's 8 questions, all of which are themed around book snacks, so things you might snack on while you were reading, which I have to say is something I try not to do, because I'm someone, if I open a bag of crisps or a bag of sweets or something like that, particularly if my mind is taken up with reading, then very quickly that bag will be empty, which is not good for the waistline. So anyway, yeah, 8 prompts. I will get straight on with them, and apologies because I will keep on looking down at my iPad to read the prompts out. So prompt number 1 is sweet. The chocolate chip cookie of books. Pick a book that is warm-hearted, uplifting, and makes you less cynical about the world. So for that one, a book I've literally just read, I finished it yesterday, and that is Heybert by Roberto Pastore, which is a poetry collection, which is absolutely lovely. So some of the poems are just sweet and funny, some of them are joyful, some of them are sad. It's a really beautifully moving collection, and it made me reflect on a lot of things about my own past and my life, but in a really positive way. So I thought it was a really, really lovely book. Next question or prompt then is salty. So inherently craveable. Pick a book or series that you couldn't stop reading or reaching for. So for me, this is a series I am reading at the moment, the Survivalist series by Jerry Ahern, which is a series of books from the 80s set after a nuclear war, with this guy kind of ranging around the devastated United States trying to find his family and avoid Russians. Really over the top and cheesy, but great fun. And these were books that I was kind of fascinated by as a kid, but I only ever read one of them when I was a kid. So as an adult who should know better, I'm gradually working my way through them and really, really enjoying them. Prompt number 3, cheesy. Like Cheeto dust, you can't escape the cheese. Pick a book that you love because of or in spite of its cheesiness. So anyone who was watching the channel when I was doing Garb August knows that I love trashy books, and I particularly love that kind of big, over-the-top, melodramatic, kind of glamorous book like Hollywood Wives by Jackie Collins. That kind of really wild... What's the word I'm looking for? Kind of luxurious book almost. And the one I want to talk about is Valley of the Dolls by Jacqueline Suzanne, which is, a real classic of that kind of thing. It's just a book I really, really love. So about kind of models and actresses in Hollywood in the 60s, really over the top, really full of kind of melodramatic twists and things like that, but just a thoroughly enjoyable, cheesy novel. Next up then is deep fried. You bit too soon into the hot batter and got burned. Pick a book that hurt to read. So for me, I could think of a number of books that were kind of disturbing books, but I thought I'd go with something that was more kind of sad and emotional, and that is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chuboski, which I found to be a deeply sad and moving book. And I think partly that was because the main character in it, Charlie, who is a very kind of challenged kid who really struggles to get on with other people and form relationships with other people, definitely reminded me of myself as a teenager. So I've talked on the channel before about the fact I don't really like talking to people, despite the fact that I'm talking to all of you in a way now. So yeah, I definitely related to Charlie deeply, and I did find it quite a painful book to read because of that. I thought it was very insightful. Okay, next one then is ice cold. Sometimes the snack you want can only come from the deep freeze. Pick a book that transports you to a cold place. So another one I've read fairly recently, The Terror by Dan Simmons, which is a phenomenal book, based on a true story, but with a horror twist, about some explorers who get trapped in the Arctic Circle, kind of, and have to like overwinter there in their boats. So just full of ice and snow and, kind of survival against the elements, as well as kind of a giant polar bear and stuff like that. So a really fantastic book, and definitely really chills you in terms of its descriptions of the weather and things like that, as well as the horror elements of it. Next question is sour. Some things are too sour to keep a straight face. Pick a book that made you make faces while you were reading. So probably one that made many people make faces while they were reading. The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum, which is an absolutely unrelenting and brutal story about two girls who are imprisoned and tortured basically by their neighbours. Just a absolutely horrific book. I mean, it's in many ways brilliant, but incredibly difficult to read, and I'm fairly sure that my face showed many times during the time I was reading it how difficult a book it is. So yeah, definitely not one for the faint of heart. Something a bit lighter for the final prompt. So juicy. Oh, sorry, actually I missed one. So prompt 7 is the healthy snack. You picked this up because it was good for you. Pick a book that you read to improve yourself in some way. So for this one, a non-fiction book, Alcohol Explained by William Porter, which is a fantastic book about the kind of physiological effects of alcohol on the human body. So I read it at a time in my life when I was conscious that I was drinking more than was healthy, and that I wasn't really in control of my drinking. And I found it a really fascinating book. It explained things in a way that made complete sense to me, and matched my own personal experience of alcohol. And I'm very pleased to say that since reading that book, I haven't had a drink, and that was over a year ago. So it definitely worked for me in terms of helping me to break that bad habit. The final prompt then is the kind of nice one. So that is juicy, like an orange or a watermelon. Some snacks have plenty of pieces to share. Pick a book that is profoundly shareable, a book that you want others to read. So for this, not just a single book, but a series of books. The Wayfarer series by Becky Chambers. So the first book is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. So these are science fiction books, but they're really lovely science fiction books that are full of kind of diversity and relatable characters, and kind of found family and all that kind of stuff, which just makes for a really lovely read. So they are kind of exciting and have interesting science in them as well. So Becky Chambers is herself a scientist, but they're just really, really lovely books too. And I heartily recommend them to anybody, whether you think you like sci-fi or not. They're not very long either. They're kind of 250, 300 pages, but really wonderful books. Right, time to tag some other people. So I'm going to tag 3 people for this one. So I'm going to tag AJ Dunn from AJ Dunn Reads and Writes. So AJ is great at creating tags and often does tags like this one, which are quite challenging in terms of making you think about different books that fit the prompts. Then I'm also going to tag Gareth from Book Songs and Other Magic, and Celeste from Bookbound Weirdo. So really looking forward to seeing what you do with the tags, all 3 of you. Okay, time as always at this point in the video for a random book from the shelves. So I've actually got 2 for you today, which are related. So the first one is Double Indemnity by James Owen Cain. So I read his novel The Postman Always Rings Twice a few months ago and absolutely loved it. Really need to get to this one soon. I don't know why I haven't read it yet, actually. So yeah, really need to read this. A classic noir, which is supposed to be fantastic. And I also have in this rather nice Library of America edition of Raymond Chandler's books, Raymond Chandler's screenplay for Double Indemnity. So I think what I might try and do is read the novel, then read the screenplay, then watch the movie, and do a video about that experience. That would be good, wouldn't it? Yeah, I'll do that at some point. So I hope you enjoyed that. Do let me know what your answers to some of those prompts would have been, particularly the last one, so the book that you recommend to everybody. Let me know what that is, and I'll let you know if I've read it or not. And if I haven't, then maybe I'll pick it up. But yeah, as always, thanks very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.